feels like the sky is grieving. People rushed past each other with umbrellas, huddled in coats, chasing shelter and warmth. No one noticed the girl on the bench. But he did. "Daddy, why is that girl crying in the rain?" Jake Foster glanced down at his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, her hand tightly gripping his. She had stopped walking and was staring at a soaked young woman sitting on the park bench, her face buried in her hands, trembling under the cold downpour. Jake paused. They were late for Lily's doctor appointment, and he was already juggling more than any one man should, but something about the girl on the bench struck him. She couldn't have been more than 18 or 19. She looked lost. Defeated. Completely alone. He looked at Lily, then back at the girl. Jake took a breath, unclasped his only umbrella, and handed it to the girl. She didn't look up at first. But when she felt the sudden shelter from the rain, she slowly raised her head, blinking away tears and water. Her eyes locked with his. For a moment, there was silence, just the rain around them. Jake gave her a kind smile. "You look like you need this more than I do." Then he took Lily's hand again and walked into the rain. Her name was Emily. That simple act of kindness, someone noticing her, shook her in a way she didn't expect. She had been sitting there for nearly an hour, contemplating whether life had anything left to offer her. She had run away from an abusive stepfather, her mother too broken to stop it, and a system that had failed her too many times. She had no home, no money, and no one to call. The umbrella felt heavier than it should. It wasn't just a shield from the rain. It was a sign that maybe, just maybe, not everyone in the world was cruel. The next day, she returned to that same park. She waited. She didn't even know his name. She just remembered the kind eyes, the soaked clothes, the child holding his hand. She returned again the day after. And again. On the 4th day, he was back. Jake recognized her instantly. She looked cleaner, though still exhausted. The umbrella was in her hand, closed neatly, like a fragile treasure she didn't want to damage. He was surprised, but not upset. Emily stood, hesitant. "I wanted to return this, and to say thank you. I don't think I would have made it through that night without your kindness." Jake nodded, then gestured to the bench. "Sit." They talked. Slowly, gently. Emily didn't reveal everything, but enough for Jake to understand she had nowhere to go. Lily played quietly nearby as Jake listened to Emily's story. He offered her dinner. A warm home-cooked meal. Nothing more. Emily refused at first, afraid of pity, afraid of danger. But something about him, the way he spoke to his daughter, the calm in his voice, reassured her. That night, she came to their small apartment. Jake was a single dad not by choice, but by tragedy. His wife, Megan, had died in a car crash 3 years ago. Since then, every day had been a balancing act, between work, school runs, making ends meet, and trying to fill a mother's shoes. He never expected to have room in his life for anything else, especially not a stranger. But over the weeks that followed, Emily became part of the rhythm. She never imposed. She cleaned. Cooked when she could. Helped Lily with schoolwork. She got a part-time job at a nearby bookstore Jake's friend owned. She even started taking online GED classes using the library's free computer access. Jake watched as this girl, broken and drenched in the rain, slowly began to find her feet again. But not everyone understood. Jake's sister, Marlene, came by one weekend. She was furious. "You let a stranger into your house, with your daughter? What if something happens?" Jake didn't argue. He simply said, "She reminds me of Megan. Not in how she looks, but how she believes no one will ever help her unless she becomes invisible." One evening, months later, Jake got sick. It started as a flu but escalated quickly into pneumonia. He was hospitalized for a week. Emily stayed by his side the entire time. Lily clung to her like a second parent. Doctors said if he had come in even a day later, it might have been fatal. That moment changed everything. Jake realized that this young woman had gone from a burden to a blessing. She hadn't just become part of the family, she was family now. A year passed. Emily passed her GED. Then she got accepted into a social work program. "I want to be the person I needed when I was younger," she told Jake one night as they stood on the balcony. He smiled, proud. "You already are." Lily called her Em. She started drawing pictures of all three of them, Jake, Lily, and Emily, under one big umbrella, smiling in the sun.